Hello everyone. I want to make a sermon video. I'm going to be in Romans 12, 17 through 21 in the King James Version of the Bible, which says, "Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Therefore, if thy enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good." I remember as a kid, if we had a difference of opinion, it seemed like that you just had to get the last lick in. Is that the way it is with y'all, brothers and sisters, that somehow or another that flesh wants you to get the last lick? But not only the last licks, but the last say in a fuss. You want to say just one more thing. You want to get your opinion in. Last licks, I looked it up, it's the action or actions taken during the final opportunity to do something. I know my little great-grandson, I speak of him pretty often, Slade Bates. He was here yesterday in my house, and when he was a smaller little boy, my granddaughter was taking him out, and she had to get on to him for something, and it didn't sit well with him. He's better now than he was, but at that time it seemed like he had a little fire in him, and he took his finger and was going towards her face with that finger. Closer and closer and closer. And she looked at him and she said, I was watching all this. She said, "You better not." And he got right up to it. I mean, within just a shade of touching her cheek, and he left off. So the last lick, you don't have to worry about getting the last lick, because the last lick, God's going to get the last lick. And 1 Corinthians 15, 55 through 57 says, "O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. But thanks be to God, which giveth us the victory through Christ Jesus." God is going to get the last say. You know, love is more powerful than death. How do you figure that, Brother Dale? Because God is more powerful than death. And God is love. So if God is more powerful than death, then love is more powerful than death. Jesus was on the cross. They crucified him. He was in the tomb for 3 days. And hell was having a party. They threw a party. They was rejoicing, man. They thought they had their say. But on the third, on that Sunday morning, Jesus jumped up out of the grave and he jerked the stinger out of death, and he had the victory. So I'm so glad that God is over all of it. I'm so glad that he has the right of way. So God is going to have the last say. So I guess you could call this sermon the last lick. And I heard a story. It said, I was at the post office one day when an elderly lady in front of me asked for a single stamp. Obviously, considering this is a waste of her time, the woman behind the counter makes a snorting noise, rips off a stamp, and flicks it over the counter where it lands on the floor. She doesn't apologize or offer the lady another stamp. The old lady considers for a second, picks up the stamp, leaves her 50-cent piece on the floor in its place, and she says a cheery "thank you," and walks out. And the woman behind the counter has to walk out to pick up the money. She didn't pick up the stamp, but she had to pick up the money. Jesus was on the cross, and he didn't say, "I'm gonna tell my Father on y'all. You're gonna be in trouble." He didn't threaten. He didn't do anything. He just said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what to do. Now consider, they didn't even ask him to forgive them, and he was doing it anyway. Is that the way you are? When no one even asks you to forgive them, do you just go ahead and forgive them anyway? I mean, or do you try to make them earn it at least, you know? We're supposed to forgive people if they never ask us to. I know it isn't easy. I'm not up here poking my chest out telling you that it's a slam dunk. It's a sure thing. But it can be done. Luke 23:32 through 34 said, and there were also two other malefactors, led with him to be put to death. And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, they crucified him and the malefactors, one on the right hand and one on the left. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiments and cast lots. Matthew 5:38 through 42 says, You have heard that it had been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that you resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him off the other also. And if any man will sue thee at the law and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Give unto him that asketh, and from him that would borrow, turn thee not away. I heard that in the Old Testament, that if the soldiers come through on your land, that if they ask you to go a mile, they would ask you to carry their equipment or whatever for a mile. And people began to mark off a mile. And whenever they got to where that mile marker was, they wouldn't go any further. It's sort of like, to me, exacting your labors. And but this says, if he asks you to go a mile, go with him twain. So go two. The best revenge is massive success. A guy was out for a hike in the woods and was suddenly bitten by a small animal that quickly scampered away. He felt the pain of the bite and quickly sat down and took a look at the wound. He rolled down his socks looking for teeth marks. Sure enough, there they were. A clean wound caused by the teeth of an animal, and blood was trickling down his leg into his shoe. As soon as he could, he made an appointment to his doctor. The doctor told him the dread news: he had rabies. The man grabbed a piece of paper off the counter and began scribbling. And the doctor asked, what was he doing? And the man said, I'm making a list of all the people that I'm going to bite. So that's the way some people are. They're going to bite you back. Galatians 5:15 says, but if you bite and devour one another, take heed that you be consumed, not one of another. Revenge. That's a dangerous thing. I know charity, I don't know, I can't remember exact wording of it, but charity keeps no record of anyone's trespasses. And over in 2 Peter, I talked about the 7 Christian graces, did a series on it. And so we don't need to make, we need to forgive. We don't need to hold things and keep records and pay back. And that's of the world. We don't need to do that. We need to love our enemies. It's not easy, friends. I'm not saying it's easy. I quote Brother David Jones a lot, and I remember things he told me. I remember more of the things he did. And there would be people talking about him. I could hear him. I knew he heard them. But Brother David just played dumb. He just acted like he didn't even hear him. I know he heard him. He acted like he was speaking Russian and he was speaking English. He didn't know a thing they said. But he was pretty sharp. I started to tell you something, then it left my mind, but I remember what it was. On the 7 Christian graces, he told us to have the divine nature. We're not supposed to have our nature. We're supposed to have the divine nature. And the WWJD, what would Jesus do nature? And we're supposed to not only repeat what he would do, but we're supposed to do what he would do. So when you have a tendency, when you have a temptation to put in the last lick, just let it go. It's not that important. In the whole scheme of things, it's not important. So I've said before, maybe I feel like I've had people kind of push me down in the ground. But if it came time that they needed help, unless I'm really badly fooled, I'd be the first in line to help them. We got to help one another. We have divided up in teams, seem like, and this against that, and this one against that one. But the real battle, we're all fighting the same one. We should be. That's Satan. I love you. I'll do whatever I can for you. My number is 256-508-4410. Call, text me, or whatever. If I can't get back to you right away, I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. May God bless you.